Hey everybody, this is Steven from PopCultureMaven.com. We're back with this week's new comic book reviews. And folks, it is one of the smallest weeks I have seen in a long time. There was really not much. Honestly, there were really no big real Marvel books this week. There were Marvel books, just not anything really super big. Mostly it was DC. Even the indie books this week was a little on the lean side, but we're gonna start off this week's with actually not a comic book. It's actually I saying that I was surprised that they did this is a complete understatement. It's the Flintstones Deluxe edition, a nice hardcover that it collects all 12 issues of the series. And then there was they did crossovers with DC and Hanna-Barbera characters. And so this one includes the Flintstones Booster Gold story that was in those one of those books. So written by Mark Russell with artwork by Steve Pugh, and also there was some fill-in issues by Rick Leonardi and Scott Hanna. So this is saying that I am a huge fan of Mark Russell is a bit of an understatement. If you've watched any of his reviews and read reviews on the website for any amount of time, you know that I am a huge fan of Mark Russell. And it actually didn't start with this. It started with his book Prez, which was a modern take on the 70s comic, which was absolutely amazing. Unfortunately, it was planned as a 12-issue series, and only it got canceled after 6 issues. It was part of that DCU that was a sales failure. There were some good books, but a sales failure. So when DC got the rights to do Hanna-Barbera books, the Flintstones was obviously one of the big ones. As a matter of fact, one of the nice things is in the back, there's supplementary, there's Steve Pugh artwork. There's also the original concept drawing was done by Amanda Connor, and that was actually one of the first things that we actually saw. There was that in Darwin Cook's future, the Hanna-Barbera superhero book, and yet they didn't do those books. They were just preliminary artwork. So this collects, like I said, this collects all 12 issues. The greatest thing about this is, first and foremost, Mark Russell does not poo-poo or really it's a great homage to the original series. What he basically does is, you see, the Flintstones was a sitcom. It was a simple sitcom. It was a takeoff on the Honeymooners. But what he did is he really explored that world that was there, that the stuff that was always back behind Fred, Wilma, Barney, and Betty, and all those things that were always there but never really explored because, one, it was a simple sitcom. So what he does is he really explores those things, including, I think one of the most amazing thing is he actually has like the animals, like the vacuum cleaner, the dishwasher and stuff, that he gives them like characters and everything. And it's absolutely amazing. And the artwork by Steve Pugh is really stunning. And then of course Rick Leonardi and Scott Hanna did some fill-in issues. They really stepped up to the plate. And it's really good. Now, there are trades available of this, but this deluxe hardcover is just really, really something to really... I have to give props to DC because their reprints and stuff, especially with hardcovers, is really, I think, more miss than hit a lot of times, and a lot of stuff goes out of print. So I would really recommend that if something you're interested in, because I really highly recommend this, definitely pick this hardcover up, because it's not something that DC is going to reprint most likely. So now that we've got the big thing for me out of the way this week, we're going to get to the regular comics. First up, Land of the Living Gods, #1 by Isaac Magajane, with art by Santos. So once again, we're still seeing a lot of post-apocalyptic comics, and this is another one that's the case. But what this one does, it really has more of a fantasy feel to it. It's quite interesting. Now, I will say the first issue is going to be it's pure exposition, a lot of setup here. So we kind of get the basic structure of the story. There's this girl that has like a plant that's kind of like a sidekick. It's almost like a cat or a dog or something, but it's with her and helps her find things out in the post-apocalyptic world, like herbs and water and all this kind of stuff. And so she's taking care of her ill mother. And so her mother passes away, and then she basically is she delivers something to a seer and tells her that she needs to go find the gods, and that's the basic structure of this first issue. And like I said, I think there's some really interesting ideas. I did like the fact that Magazine didn't just do a post-apocalyptic comic, that there's actually a nice twist and turns, especially with the fantasy elements. And Santos' artwork is actually really, really nice. It's a really good looking book. And I wouldn't say that I necessarily love the first issue, but I did like it, and I think it's definitely worth checking out because I think it shows a lot of promise with its first issue, even though it's very heavy exposition, setting up everything. But I think it's worth checking out, and with a lean week like this is the time to really look for this and other books that you may have passed over, because some of these last few weeks have been really huge. So I would say it's worth checking out. Next up, we have Suicide Squad, The Blaze, #1, written by Simon Spurr, with artwork by Aaron Campbell. So this is another Black Label book. So these are in their own, they don't follow continuity. They're their own stories. And so what it is that there is a suicide mission, but it's something that they will not return from. So all the Amanda tries to get like Peacemaker, Harley Quinn, King Shark, and Captain Boomerang to do it, and they're like, yeah, we're not going to do that because we're going to die like in a month after this for sure. It's not like we get time off our sentence. We're just going to be dead. So what she does is she goes to another prison and basically has a Hunger Games of like, okay, if you guys can get past the Suicide Squad, then you'll get to live, and you'll get to go on this thing. And so that's the basic structure of this. So what they do is they give them like superpowers, but once again, the superpowers are going to kill them within a certain amount of time. So that's the basic premise here. Spur's story, I think, is interesting. It's one of those I didn't really the story didn't knock me out, but I think there's a lot of promise there. It definitely has a lot of good things about it. I think it's one of those things. I think it's going to be where the payoff's going to be after this first issue. I think like I said, there's a lot of interesting concepts here. I think there's some good ideas, but like I said, it didn't particularly overwhelm me, but I did like it. And I will say that Aaron Campbell's artwork is really, really nice. It's a good looking book. And the other nice thing is, especially with Peacemaker being on HBO Max right now, a lot of people are really interested in Suicide Squad. And the nice thing about these Black Label books is that they're self-contained, and it's like, I think this is like 2 or 3 issue series. So it's easy to just kind of jump in. You don't really need to know anything. It's just this story sets everything up. So I would say if you're looking for something on the Suicide Squad, I think this is worth checking out. And I'll be interested to see how the second issue builds the story from there. Next up, we have Justice League 2022 Annual, written by Brian Michael Bendis, with artwork by Sanford Green. So this is an interesting story because it takes place. It's pre the Justice League Legion of Superheroes that came out a few weeks back, and it has a tie into it, but you don't necessarily need to read this to read that, or vice versa. So this is the basic structure of this story is Wonder Woman has just come back. Once again, this is kind of like an odd thing because a lot of this lead up to this particular story has been it was in the past, but you can this does stand on its own. And what it is, it's time is bending, and OMAC is brought in from the future, a future that the Justice League doesn't know, and the future, all the futures are getting kind of mixed up, and the Justice League have got to sort everything out with the help of OMAC, and that's the basic structure. The really big draw for me on this one is Sanford Green's artwork, who is the artist on the Image book Bitter Roots, and I really love his artwork, so I was very excited to see this. Now, I will give, once again, we can go through the whole Brian Michael Bendis thing where, yeah, there's times where it's overtly dialogue, but overall it wasn't too bad. There was only a few times where it's like, it got, word puke all over the place. But overall, I think it was an interesting story. I think I of course, having Jack Kirby's OMAC in there is always really good. I love OMAC. He's a great character. And Sanford does a really good job of drawing him. I really like his take on OMAC. And like I said, I liked it. I didn't quite love it, but I did enjoy it. So, and it is fairly one and done. I mean, like I said, there is the epilogue that really has about the Gold Lantern, but you really don't need to read that or anything. You can just read this by itself. So I think it's worth checking out. It's not a high recommendation, but it's for me, getting Sanford Green's artwork is well worth the price of admission on that one. Next up, we have Life Zero #1 by Stefano Vitti with artwork by Marco Ciccito. So this is yet another zombie story. And unfortunately, the problem is that you have read this a million times, and unfortunately, Vitti doesn't really do anything different here in this first issue. What the basic setup is, they go to there's this gas that's turned people into zombies. Wow, never read that before. And then they go to a prison to rescue another team member. And that's it. That's the story. That's the problem. There really isn't much story. And then it just kind of ends where the helicopter that they came in crashed, and then I don't know if they're trapped. Honestly, I didn't care. The story was so basic and so redundant of everything that we've seen before that it wasn't bad, but it's like, I've been there, done that. It brought nothing new to the table. The only thing this book really had going for it is Cicchetto's artwork. He's been the artist on Daredevil. The artwork's great, but you can have great artwork, but if you have a story that just sits there like a dead fish, then it's really pointless. And sadly, it's really pointless. Next up, we have Batgirls #3, written by Becky Cloonan and Michael W. Conrad, with artwork by George Corona. So this is like the middle part of this first story arc, where we're still learning about the villain that is hypnotizing people and using a scarecrow gas, but it doesn't appear to be scarecrow. So I think we're still trying to figure out how this all fits in. And then of course, Barbara's still working with the two Batgirls. And so there was the one thing that was really fun in this issue is that they go on a mission to kind of trap. There's this big party on a boat, and they know that the bad guy is going to be there. So Barbara actually goes as Barbara Gordon, and she kind of meets up with an old, I guess you could almost say an old rich flame. And so there's some great banner there that Cloonan and Conrad have with that. Like I said, this it's a middle issue. They move the story along, but there's good things about it. It's just it's not an exciting issue on its own. It's just a middle part of a story, which is not a bad thing. It's just it like leads you. It'll lead us into the next parts of the story. So that'll be worth checking out. I have really enjoyed this book, and the really big draw continues to be Corona's artwork, which is absolutely just stunning on this book. He gives us the book this great kinetic and visual energy that just pops big time. time, and it's really just absolutely gorgeous. And I mean, that's enough to buy this book alone with the artwork, but the story is actually really good, and like I said, the team is just firing on all cylinders. I've actually been really surprised by this book, because honestly, as you'll see, there's like two more Batman books coming out that came out this week, so we'll go over those. But I think Batgirls is continuing to be really entertaining, and it'll be interesting to see how this first story arc lands once it gets done. Next up, we have Batman Urban Legends number 12. So there's 4 stories. The first one is The Batman Zatanna, written by Vita Ilea, with artwork by Nicola Kaminsky. The White Witch by Ram V and Anand R.K. Eternity, i.e. Kid Eternity, written by Mihail Magigo, with artist Dien. And then finally we have Ace the Bat Hound story, written by Mark Russell and with artwork by Karl Mosterat. So these are continuing stories. All of these started in the last issue. And for me, the reason I picked this up, we'll go over at the last, is the Ace the Bat Hound. But actually, overall, I think the stories have been good. The Batman Zatanna was really solid in its first chapter. The second chapter is good. It got a little shaky there, where it got a little kind of a tad convoluted with the story, with the magic and things. Like I said, it a little convoluted, but not terrible. I will give Ayla that it struggled a little bit in the middle, but kind of picked up back towards the end. Shiminsky's artwork is actually really, really nice. I really enjoy it. It's a fun story. Like I said, I didn't like the second part as much, but I think it's still going really well. The White Witch by Ram V and Anand RK is really, really quite interesting. It's very I don't even know how to describe it in some ways, because it's like it's just you're getting a little snippet part of the story, and it continues the story, but it like I said, it's kind of hard to explain with where they're going with the book, that it's but I like it. I do like it. It's hard to explain, but it kind of jumps around from the present to the past with the story of trying to figure out what's going on with the White Witch. So that's where this one is. The Kid Eternity is basically, think of like a murder mystery with like eternity, where he can talk to the dead. He's trying to find out what has gone on, how this woman died, and how it's all, you know, he's going backwards to talk to her to find out why she was killed, or how does she know who the killer is. And that's the basic story. It's a murder mystery story, and Machigo and Dean are doing a nice job. The artwork's really nice on it. But for me, the big reason I've been buying this book is for the Ace the Bat Hound story by Russell and Mosteret. And so the first part of the story, so Batman gets kidnapped. He's been sent to Russia, and Bat Hound has been sent to this basically animal prison, and it's run by this guy who supposedly rescue animals, but he's doing like science experiments on them, and it's really weird. But then, so Bat Hound escapes, and he breaks out his comrades and arm. They basically just start killing the guards because they've been mean to him and stuff. It's great. And it's just this, once again, I know it's Russell, but it's really a damn good story, and it really has a lot of heart to it. And it's quite amazing. You don't really see that very often. And it really just, I mean, for me, that story alone is well worth the price of admission. The other ones are good. So we're still firing on all cylinders on the story. So like I said, the Russell is going to be 6 issues. So at the very least, we'll be reviewing it for 6 issues. But like I said, I really love this story, and it's well worth the price of admission. Next up, we have Superman, Son of KalEl, Number, what do we got? Number 8, sorry. So written by Tom Taylor with artwork by Cian Tormey and Raul Fernandez. So this is the second part. So what we're seeing that so there's the sea creature that came up, and him and Aquaman or Aqualad were trying to, like, basically the creature has lost its home, and it's like it's not really trying to destroy the city, it's just like lost almost. And then of course Lex Luthor has this like superhero team he's got going, and so they fight the monster, and then the monster basically almost destroys the city, and Superman and Aqualad have to save the city. But really what we learn in this issue is that Lex is these superheroes that he's created are basically like human robots where one person controls them and tells them what to do. So that's really kind of where what Taylor is setting up with this first with the second part of this story arc. And I also like the interaction between John and Aqualad was really it's really interesting. I really enjoy how it's a superhero book, but Taylor's taking the time to infuse these characters with really great character, and you actually care about it. There's more than just like them beating stuff up, and that's actually really nice. And I'm really enjoying it. And Tormey's been doing a really nice job. The artwork's really nice. This is the second issue that he's done, and I look forward to see how they continue. Because one thing to note that the next issue. Well, you want to read the next issue of Nightwing because there's going to be a crossover between the two books, obviously, because Tom Taylor writes them. So you want to make sure that you read the next issue of Nightwing, and then read the next issue of Superman, Son of Kal-El. And finally, this week we have Batman Scooby-Doo Mysteries Team Up. Written by Ivan Cohen with artwork by Randy Elliott. This is issue number 11. So there's one more issue to go. So each issue stands on its own. This one is really fun for me because I love the Creeper, and I love the fact that they're using oddball characters, not just like the Flash and stuff like that, which they have had. But I like when they use the oddball characters. And it's just, these are fun stories. They're one and done. They're great they're wonderful all ages book. They're really, and the stories are really great for both adults and kids. They don't dumb it down, although the plots are pretty simple. But if you're a fan of like Scooby-Doo and Batman, these are just really fun books for both young and old. I really love him to death. Cohen really does a nice job on the story. He, moves it along really well. They're well paced, because once again, they're one and done. It has a beginning, a middle, and end, and they're just fun. And then Elliot does a really nice job capturing the animated feel and everything. And it's just, they're really fun books. I really recommend it. And I know they're going to be coming out with trades of these. If you've missed the single issues, definitely pick this up, especially if you're a fan of like Scooby-Doo and Batman. These are really, really fun books. That is going to do it this week. Yeah, like I said, it's a really short week, or small week, but definitely make sure you support your local comic shop. As always, I get all my comics from Pulp Fiction Comics in Long Beach. Ryan runs a great store. They have a great Facebook page. Annie and Eduardo help out. They work at the store. They're really great. They special order stuff. They have subscription service. If you get on the subscription service, you get a discount. They offer trades and graphic. So like the Flintstones, I got it for 30% off right there. 30% off that bad boy. So that makes a big difference. And there is a sister store, separate store run by Chris and her team, Pulp Fiction, Culver City. They're up in Culver City. If you're in that part of the LA area, check it out. If you're in Long Beach, that's the store that I go to. That's Pulp Fiction Comics in Long Beach. And as always, please be safe out there. Please get vaccinated. Take care of yourself. Things are getting better, but make sure you stay safe. I know there's just stay safe. Mask up. Social distance. Avoid things. Just really be safe out there. And as always, we end our show with please be kind. Kindness is great. Not only is it great, but it makes you don't only make other people feel good, it'll make you feel good. Just do one kind thing a day. Just smile at somebody, say have a nice day. It's really simple. Just be kind. It's really that simple. All right, that's going to do it this week. Really short show, but we got through quite a bit, even though it was short. But make sure you support your local comic shop. Please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And please share these videos with all your friends and family. And this is Steven from Pop Culture Maven signing out. Take care of yourselves. Bye-bye.